Hello and welcome to Discourse of Peacocks, where today we are going to be discussing Leeds United 2, Derby County 0, in what can only be described as yet another dominant, repetitive and easy win for Leeds United at Ellen Road. We very rarely concede chances and every single momentum graph is there to back it up. We create so much and allow so little against us. It's becoming very difficult to describe home performances without using the same terminology over and over again. I never want it to be repetitive or boring, but Leeds United seem to just have our home form, chef's kiss, worked out. And if we could copy and paste that to our away form, we would be a million miles away at the top of the table. We're going to get straight into the good because of the fact that we should have probably won this game 3-4-0. The goalkeeper for Derby made a annoyingly brilliant fingertip save to deny Joel Pirot a goal. And there was another couple of opportunities, a Rodon missed header. Obviously, we'll get onto Joe Rodon's head later on, but we need to convert a few more of those chances. So it could have been quite easily, without sounding very vain, big-headed and entitled, we should have probably won that game 4-0. So we'll get straight on to the good because there's quite a few things to discuss today. We've entered the top two yet again. Obviously, at the end of game week 18, we sat third in the table. We had some fortunate results for Burnley, drew against Middlesbrough. Sheffield United drew against West Brom when it looked at half-time that actually Sheffield United were going to get all 3 points. So we could have done with the Baggies getting all 3 points, but beggars can't be choosers, and we are only 1 point behind Sheffield United. So that's another positive. Clean sheet. Yet again, at home, it's very rare that we concede chances, let alone actual goals. Have we conceded, 5 goals there all season? And we haven't conceded a goal since the Watford 2-1 win at home. I think, full credit to the midfield, full credit to the defence, full credit to the setup because of the fact that most teams don't even attempt to play football against us at Ellen Road. We had 2 new goal scorers now, so I think that's all of our defenders that have now scored. I'm not going to count Schmidt because he's never actually played in defence for us. He's actually come on as a winger. So right now I'm not going to count him as a defender. So all of our defenders have now scored. Finally, Rodon within the space of 5 minutes went from me swearing at the TV and telling my husband, see this, he's never going to get a Leeds United goal. He's just destined to never score for us. And, he shot me down and said, no, he's scoring today. And unfortunately, yet again, my husband proves me right. Well, proves him right and me wrong, which is just a really foreign concept to me. It was fantastic. It was brilliant to see the camaraderie, both on the pitch and then later on social media, with everybody jokingly taking the mick out of him with his 50p head. And, it's only taken how many games and all of these minutes. And it was just a really wholesome moment. And I think we finally truly saw how much he not only cares about his teammates, but how much he cares for Leeds United. I was critical of him at the start of the season. He was living up to that stigma of, don't fall in love with a lone player because even if you get them, they're never going to be the same. And he did kind of fall into that trap a little bit, but over recent games, in fact, since he got his 4th yellow card, I can't remember exactly which game it was, but he hasn't obviously conceded a yellow card. And now after the end of this game, he's passed the threshold. So he's free to get a yellow card without him missing a game now. So I was just really, really happy for him. And I think it just meant a lot, the fact that, loads of players off the bench were running over to congratulate him. just really wholesome. And it's not often, because of the pressures that we have on this season, which we'll get into later. It's not often that you get to just live in that moment and be really happy, genuinely happy for somebody scoring a goal, and also feel that massive sense of relief and the weight off their shoulders and everything. So yeah, very, very happy with that. Obviously, Max Verber scored after coming on as a substitute, which that again, I know obviously it wasn't a chosen substitute, it was a forced one with Firpo going off injured. But I think that now takes it to 10 goals that we have now scored from substitutes so far this season. Something which, if you watched me on Just Joe show anytime last season, I made a massive point of the fact that we didn't have game changers on the bench, whereas actually this season has been the complete opposite. You know, our bench has been massively important and has won us games this season. So the redemption arc starts now. It was nice to see how genuinely happy lots of the players, including players that he had played with the season that obviously we got relegated. It was nice to see that there were so many people, you know, congratulating him and just looking genuinely happy, the fact that he'd scored. So very happy with that. I think we were all concerned when Firpo went off that we might lose that attacking impetus from the left-hand side, from, you know, the left-back position. But Max Verber was going for it. You know, he got a couple of opportunities where he either could have scored or got an assist. So I was very happy with him. And I will fully support him, you know, while he's wearing a Leeds United shirt. I think we have to forgive. Not saying that we have to forget, but we do have to forgive all of the loanees that have gone out and come back, because we can't have that sort of negativity, especially after Christmas and, well, after the March international break, when those players are going to need us to support them in order for us all to get it over the line. So I was very happy with Max Verber. I thought he did really well. I think he offers us another dimension when it comes to set pieces as well. Speaking of set pieces, I'm going to go on to Rothwell, who, for me, he was my man of the match. I thought he was incredible. He was instrumental, obviously, with the Rodon goal and with the almost should have been first Rodon goal. The irony is that he genuinely scored the more difficult chance. I don't know what it is with Leeds United players. We seem to fluff our lines when it comes to the easy stuff and score the outrageous goals that have a far lower XG value. But anyway, I'm happy. But Rothwell, he makes me feel safe when we get a corner. And now that we have a defender that's possibly able, you know, in fact, 2 or 3 defenders that are able to potentially score from set pieces, it makes me feel a little happier and a little less eye-rolly, if that makes sense. Because most of the time, again, I've been quite vocal about this, is when we get any sort of set piece, I just roll my eyes and just think, well, just pass it back to the keeper, because it's just not worth all of, like, let's not get our hopes up because this is Leeds United and we do not score from set pieces. Whereas Joe Rothwell, I thought, was fantastic. His delivery, considering the adverse weather conditions, his delivery into the box was fantastic. And I really hope that Farkas stops bringing him off for Gilavogi, because Gilavogi gives us another body to score a set piece, and Rothwell gives us the delivery. So for me, it seems counterproductive taking off the one person who is consistently good at set piece taking with a physical presence who could possibly get on the end of said set piece. It just seems, I don't know, I'm sure there are reasons behind it. I just wish that he would take somebody else off instead, because I think Rothwell, especially if we're only winning 1-0 and we get a set piece, I think that could be a lifeline to us. So I would love to see Gilavogi and Rothwell on the pitch at the same time. We're going to go to our captain, of Ampadu, having him back on the bench. I'm glad that we didn't need him. I'm pretty sure we wouldn't have had him on even if we had have needed him. I think he was there for show rather than practicality. But my gosh, was it nice to see him. And it was lovely to see, I think, was it Nonto and Ramazani who were kind of like bigging him up to the cameras. Again, the camaraderie behind this team now that they've gelled a bit more since the summer and everything. And it just makes me feel like a little warm inside, that we've got some teammates who genuinely care and want to big each other up, not just for themselves. They're genuinely happy for one another. I think that's what makes a great team, is that you have a sense of care and empathy, and you want to motivate one another, and you're not just in it for kind of self-serving reasons. Aronson, obviously, anybody, again, who has seen me on any other shows this past couple of weeks, I've noticed that I've been fairly critical and heavily on the critique of Aronson. But I actually thought, obviously, he was instrumental to both goals. I don't know whether the verbal one, because it took a deflection, I don't know whether it'll actually go down as an assist or not, but I'm giving it to him because without him, we don't get that goal. So I'm more than happy to say that he's had 2 goal contributions, whether official or not, because obviously his shot, which I thought was brilliant, he kind of turned, pirouetted on it and shot at the goalkeeper. He needs to do more things like that, because actually when he has less time to think and act more on instinct, I think we get a better player out of him. I want him to be, and I know this sounds slightly bizarre because most of the time I'm all about being selfless when it comes to the game. I actually think he kind of needs to be a little bit more selfish, because he gets himself into really good positions, spaces, and then he panics because he feels, it's like he gets there and then he feels the weight of the shirt, the weight of the fans, the weight of the expectation, the weight of the owners. It's like he feels everything and goes into panic mode and then fluffs his lines, and then we get frustrated with him. And then he thinks about that frustration in the next time that he gets into a good position. That has been my annoyance with him of recent weeks. Not him, not his attitude or performances, his thinking and his IQ in a certain sense. You don't have to be a massive footballing IQ to take your chances. And I think that he needs to think less and act more, and he will become he will evolve as a player, and he will be far more valuable to Leeds United and to himself for his own personal statistics. He should have had more goals. He should have had more assists this season. And I hope that he allows himself to get out of his own head for all of our benefits. I think Farke made the right choice when taking him off. I'm presuming he did that because obviously we were fairly comfortable 2-0 up. At that point, Derby were offering very little in terms of countering. And obviously we had Ramazani and Nonto to come on, and Gilavogi. So we had plenty of protection to protect that 2-goal lead. But I'm presuming Daniel Farke did it with kind of one eye on the Middlesbrough game, where I really think that Aronson's niggly behaviour will be vital for us and potentially instrumental in us getting something or everything from that game. So I think Farke needs to be kind of, obviously, we've all heavily criticised Farke's sub-timing and rotation, etc., etc. But I think he needs to be congratulated on not just keeping Aronson on for the sake of keeping him on, allowing him an extra half an hour's rest. That potentially gives him an extra 10, 15 minutes in the Middlesbrough game, where we will need him, because I think it's going to be a relentless game. And I think we need Aronson's basically hyperactivity in order to get us over the line in that game. So props to Farke on the correct timing of substitutes in that game. We're going to move on to the bad. So obviously we won the game 2-0. We were incredibly comfortable and in control with very little threat. So my negatives are going to be a little bit facetious. But so the subs, I know I've just been praising them in terms of the timing, but other than Max Verber, which was an incredibly early forced substitute in the 20th minute, the subs didn't really do a great deal, and they did have enough time to actively make an impact. I think there were Joseph and Nonto were brought on the 68th minute, I think. Obviously, Ramazani and Gilavogi, they only came on in like the 85th minute, so that's completely different. But Joseph and Nonto didn't really do a great deal. I think Joseph does some really good off the ball. I was trying to actively watch him and notice him when he came on to try and see if there are any kind of indications that he should start over Pirro, and his movement is brilliant, but he's just not, he doesn't just seem to get that final touch, his final, like, he has a great idea. It's a bit like Strauch in the box for set pieces. His movement is brilliant, but then his connection to the ball 9 times out of 10 is crap. And I think Joseph is having the exact same problem. His movement, the way he stretches, the way he can kind of get himself into spaces and predict what other players, see the potential patterns of play that could open up in front of him. And he obviously has that vision, but his execution over the last few weeks, I don't know necessarily what we need to do. I said it about Aronson. I'm not here to stroke anybody's ego. They have to perform. And right now, Pirro is performing better because he's getting the goals. But overall, making us attractive, probably getting the best out of other players, I do think Joseph is the better player. But we can't deny that we're getting results with Pirro on the pitch. So I think it's a really difficult point, and it kind of rolls on to my next point of, do we actively, we all have this obsession over the number 9 role, and, whether it's Pirro, whether we need to change the style of play around Pirro, whether we need to allow Joseph more chances. Do we need to bring Bamford back? Shh, say that quietly. I know it offends people. Myself included occasionally. But do we actively need a striker? I know that's quite a wild statement because, of course, you need a striker. But we're getting goals. Like, our defenders not only kept a clean sheet, but also won us the game by scoring both of our goals. Goals are being so evenly spread out this season. It's just the midfield that we need to get to score. We've got, obviously, 2 assists from Rothwell now, I think, from Strout corner and Rodon corner, but I would love to see, and I don't think Tanaka's too far off because he's having good shots. The goalkeeper did make a really good save with Tanaka's shot in the second half, I believe that was. So I do think that there is a goal coming, and I do think that Rothwell will get more assists from his set pieces. But considering we've scored the second most, so Norwich at this moment of recording, Norwich have scored the most with 35. I believe it's us and Middlesbrough who've scored the second most with 33, but we have only conceded 13, possibly. I'm sure we have a goal difference of 20. In fact, I'm just going to check that because I'm going to be really annoyed if I get that wrong. Yeah, we have a goal difference of 20. Yeah, scored 33, conceded 13. Whereas Norwich, for instance, have scored 35 but conceded 30. So they have a goal difference of 5. I would much rather be Leeds United than Norwich because that means that we're doing our job at both ends of the pitch. We're barely conceding and we are scoring more than enough. So do we actively need a number 9 when we are winning games through lots of other people scoring other than midfielders and Meslier. Everybody else in every other position is scoring, and Joseph has scored and Pirro has scored. Obviously Bamford's barely played, so I don't really think, I think it'd be harsh to criticise him for not scoring. But I think that's the question to ponder on, is are we as fans, because we haven't had that change of a new all-round striker for so long, are we making it into a bigger deal than it actually needs to be, considering it would be a bigger deal if we hadn't scored the second most goals, had the best goal difference in the league. It would be a bigger deal. But right now, do we actively need a number 9 when the goals are coming from everywhere this season? We're not dependent on a winger, a number 10 or a number 9. We're getting goals from everywhere. And we were crying out, myself included, we were crying out for that last season. So one to think about. Another bad side was just like the weather. I'm going to sound incredibly English right now. The weather was obviously, I felt, I was in the comfort of my living room watching it under a blanket. I wasn't getting wet, soggy, being blown all over or anything like that. I was a very privileged person watching in the comfort of my own home. But I did feel sorry for all of the fans, both travelling and home fans. And obviously the wind in that first half when Meslier kicked the ball fairly high and it basically just stopped and then came back towards us. It was really amusing in the second half when the Derby goalkeeper was doing the exact same thing over and over again. Even the commentary were mentioning it, saying, he's not learning. Surely just drill it low. Don't go high because the wind's just going to push it right back at you. And we created quite a few chances actually from him doing that, which was quite, I don't know, it was quite amusing. I wish we'd have actually managed to actively score from one of those chances. Another bad point, obviously, Firpo going off injured. I'm going to potentially do a video about my concerns about Firpo. If you would like me to do that, please leave a comment below, because I have an opinion piece idea that I want to do about Firpo. But yeah, obviously not great when you consider he's got, one of the most assists for a defender in the top 4 leagues of English football in 2024. Don't really want to lose him. But we'll see. It gives Max Verber a chance. It gives competition. And we all know how much I love competition. Right, we will go on to the final section, which is the length. Stop being immature, Evie. The Championship is a long season, and we are now we've played 19 games. We're on 38 points, which is the exact same amount of points that we were at last year. Obviously, there is not that massive gap. We were on 38. Leicester were on 46 at this point. So whereas Sheffield United are on 39. So there isn't a big gap between first, second, third, and fourth, and fifth. It's minimal. Our goal difference is much better. I think we were 14 plus 14 goal difference last year, whereas now we're on plus 20, keeping more clean sheets, scoring more goals. Yeah, we're doing fine. And this season, as we've all alluded to, is far more normal. I think all we need to do, obviously the away form is concerning, but I don't think it's as concerning as we're all making it out to be, myself included. I think that we just need to tweak just a couple of things in order to turn losses into draws into wins. I don't expect us to win every game. I think that would be ludicrous. By this point last season, Leicester had won more games. I think we'd won 11, they'd won 15, but they had the same amount of losses that we did. They'd lost 3, drawn 1, won the other 15. So we just need to tweak a couple of things and we'll be absolutely flying. So there is a lot of football left to play. You know, we have so much. We've got over half the season left to play, and we are in the top 2 and 1 point off first, and we've still got to play them again away from home. So as long as we stay in and around 2 points within the top spot, I really don't see the issue, because again, we've got all of those teams in and around us to play again. And I think that in those teams, I think obviously the Sunderland game, we were so unlucky to not get all 3 points there. You know, we get all 3 points there, we're already top of the table. So I think that, you know, we've got West Brom to play at home. We've got Sunderland to play at home. We've got Burnley and Sheffield United to play away. We've got Millwall to play at home. We've got Blackburn to play at home. You know, we've got all of the games in and around us that people that we can take points off that would directly affect us. It's not like, you know, it doesn't matter. It does matter, obviously, if we take points off the bottom teams. Of course it does, because we need those points. But they're not affecting us directly. Whereas if we lose to somebody in and around us, we are directly giving them points and taking points off ourselves, kind of thing. So I just think we need to just tweak a couple of bits. And I think Ampadu coming back, I think is great. It offers us variety. It offers us the chance to move people around, to rest people, to change formations. It just allows us so much more. We've got that sense of leadership back. His drive, his tenacity, I think his kind of passion as well. I like that we've got him back, and I like that we don't necessarily need him back either. Right now, he's a luxury, because we didn't think we were going to get him back until January, and the fact that it's December and he's on the bench is fantastic. I think, you know, I've said top 3 will be back and forth. I do think it's going to be between, well, I think Sunderland are going to drop off. I don't want to underestimate them, but the last few, you know, they have got so many draws, not as many as West Brom, with I think they've got 10 out of their last 11 or something very similar to that. But I do think they are dropping off a little bit, regressing to the mean. I still think they're going to be in top 6 by the end of the season, but I don't think top 2 is going to be in their kind of sights. I genuinely think it's probably going to be between us, Sheffield United, Burnley, and a dark horse of Middlesbrough. And that's why I don't want to underestimate them for Tuesday's game. I think as well, with the length reference, I think we all know that we have to get back to the Premier League this season, because next year, if we don't get up, it won't be the same as the last 2 seasons. We are going to feel so much financial pressure. We're going to feel pressure from players who have potentially done their part to get us up and other people haven't. Do they start pushing for a move? Do we start regressing back to being an actual championship team? You know, time is so crucial this season, and I think that's what makes it slightly more tetchy and potentially less enjoyable. So yeah, I think I'm going to leave it there, because I don't want to leave it on a down, because obviously we won 2-0 and we are now in the top 2, 1 point off the top. So I want to leave feeling vaguely happy and positive. I know it's quite a bizarre feeling for being a Leeds United fan, I'm aware. If you would like to disagree with me, agree with me, have any sort of discussions, please like, comment, subscribe, all down below. I feel really weird and awkward saying this, so I do apologise for the blurb that's about to come out of my mouth. But I now have memberships, and I have a few ideas that I've been working on for videos that I was going to potentially put out for people who actively want to see some more views and opinions that maybe not everybody wants to see. So if you feel like it, please become a member. I believe it's $1.99 a month. So like, you know, a coster would cost twice as much as that. But don't feel any pressure. I'm only in my infancy of a Leeds United content creator. But if you would like to become a member, then I'm pretty sure it's going to be somewhere down below, because that's usually where these buttons hang out. So yeah, please comment, like, subscribe, and all that lovely YouTube algorithm loving thing. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.